Welcome to this explainer on India's climate. Today, we are diving straight into the cinematic story behind some of the most dramatic, life-giving, and, frankly, occasionally terrifying weather on Earth. We're talking about a subcontinent where the weather doesn't just happen in the background, it absolutely dominates everyday life.
To kick things off, we've got to look at the staggering extremes that make India's climate so unbelievably fascinating. I mean, think about it. How exactly can one single nation fry and freeze at the exact same time of year? Let's figure out how that geographical magic trick actually works.
The sheer precipitation gap here is, well, it's honestly hard to wrap your head around. Over in the Khasi Hills of Meghalaya, a place called Monsoon is literally the wettest place in the world. It takes on 11,000 millimeters of annual rainfall. That is enough water to completely swallow a three-story building. But travel west to Jaisalmer in the Thar Desert, and they barely scrape by on just 9 centimeters of rain for the entire year. It's like one country, two totally different planets. And when we talk about the heat, we are talking about an oppressive, inescapable reality. In June, in Rajasthan, temperatures skyrocket to 50 degrees Celsius. It's so blisteringly hot that if you cracked an egg on the pavement, you could literally cook an omelet right there on the street. It is intense. But then, head north to the Dras Valley in Jammu and Kashmir, and it's a complete 180. Winter temperatures there plunge to a bone-chilling minus 40 degrees. At that extreme cold, if you were to spit, the moisture would freeze into solid ice before it even hits the ground. Like I said, an environment of absolute extremes. So, to understand how these massive extremes can exist side by side, we really have to look at the massive engine driving the entire subcontinent, the monsoon. Now, the word is derived from the Arabic word mawsam, and funnily enough, it doesn't actually mean heavy rain, even though that's exactly what we usually associate it with. It actually means a season, or more accurately, a total seasonal reversal of winds.
Altitude acts as the country's built-in climate escape, and it's all driven by something called the lapse rate. Basically, for every 166 meters you climb in elevation, the temperature drops by exactly 1 degree Celsius. That's exactly why millions of people can be baking down in the northern plains, while just a short drive up into high-altitude hill stations like Darjeeling, people are comfortably sipping tea in sweaters.
But altitude does a whole lot more than just give us cool hill stations. The mighty Himalayas act as the ultimate climate gatekeeper. Without them, freezing winds from Siberia would just sweep right down and turn India into a frigid, barren desert. Instead, they completely block that bitter air out, while simultaneously trapping warm, wet monsoon winds inside India to drop their life-saving rain. It's an absolutely crucial natural barrier.
Okay, so this entire weather system is essentially fueled by a massive rivalry between the land and the sea. Here's how it works. In summer, the Indian landmass heats up intensely, creating this gigantic low-pressure vacuum. Meanwhile, out over the cooler Indian Ocean, high pressure builds up. Because wind always wants to rush from high pressure to low pressure, those moisture-laden ocean winds violently rush inland. And when they finally strike, bam, you get that traumatic onset of rain and thunder, famously known as the burst of monsoon.
The very first place to experience this incredible, sudden burst is the coastal state of Kerala down in the south. Because of India's tapering kind of V-like shape at the bottom, Kerala acts as the tip of the spear. Once those heavy winds hit that coastline, the physical shape of the landmass literally splits the storm system into two massive, distinct branches that go sweeping right up the country.
Once those winds actually move inland, the mountains completely dictate where the rain falls. When moisture-heavy clouds smash into the windward side of the Western Ghats, they are forced upward and basically squeeze dry, absolutely drenching coastal cities like Mumbai. But as they cross over those peaks and head into what's called the rain shadow, there is almost no water left. This leaves cities just over the mountain, like Pune, incredibly dry.
Which perfectly solves a major geographical mystery, the Rajasthan desert. If these massive monsoon winds sweep right over that area, why on earth is it so parched? Well, it's because the Aravalli Mountains run completely parallel to the winds. Without a vertical wall of rock to crash into and force the air up, those rain-bearing clouds just glide right on by, without dropping a single drop on the Thar Desert.
When you zoom out and track the chronological arc of the year, you see a dramatic transition. We go from the blistering pre-monsoon heat of spring right into the grand, sweeping, soaking of the summer monsoon from June to September. But the story doesn't end there. Eventually, the land cools down, the air pressure reverses, and we enter the retreating monsoon in autumn, followed finally by the winter cold.
Now, that retreat, it is not a comfortable time.
Once the heavy rains stop around September, the land experiences a highly uncomfortable transition period, widely known as October heat. The skies clear up, the brutal sun beats down on the completely waterlogged earth, and the humidity just spikes. It is an oppressive, muggy, sweaty period right before the wind direction completely flips.
And this seasonal wind reversal completely flips the script depending on where you happen to live. For instance, while New Delhi gets its peak heavy rainfall in August during the summer monsoon, a city like Chennai over on the East Coast actually stays relatively dry during that time. Chennai has to wait all the way until November. They rely entirely on those retreating winter winds picking up moisture over the Bay of Bengal to deliver their massive downpours.
But hey, the monsoon is not the only player in town. Surprising as it might seem, winter rains in northern India actually travel all the way from Europe. We call these western disturbances. They're basically low-pressure cyclones born in the distant Mediterranean Sea, and they trek all the way across the Middle East just to dump absolutely crucial water on India's wheat crops, not to mention massive amounts of beautiful snow on the Himalayas.
Then, beyond the grand monsoons, you've got these highly specific local winds that bring their own special brand of chaos. Up in the north, blistering, dusty winds called the Lu can cause severe heat strokes. Over in the east, called Baisakhi brings terrifying thunder, which, oddly enough, is absolutely perfect for growing Bengal's tea and jute crops. And down south, pre-monsoon showers are hugely celebrated. They ripen the mangoes in Kerala and trigger these beautiful cherry blossoms that actually boost Karnataka's famous coffee beans.
So, as we wrap up, it's clear India's climate is undoubtedly erratic, highly uneven, and famously unpredictable. I mean, you can literally be standing in a flooded street on one side of the country and staring at a parched desert on the other. But I want to leave you with this provocative thought. As chaotic and overwhelming as this weather engine is, this exact seasonal reversal is the heartbeat of the entire region. Without these wild extremes, the incredible agriculture, the diverse ecosystems, and the very life of the subcontinent simply would not exist. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and keep your eyes on the skies.